Hey everyone, Felipe Vieira here, a front-end designer with over 15 years of experience in the field. And today we're here for another comparison video. I was looking at some tools. We just released the last video. We released the fragments. Then we released the lovable to compare with Bolt V0. And now we're there. I'm going to release Valtown for you to take a look. It has undergone some changes since I first got to know it. When I used it, it was completely free with no limitations. Now it has some limitations I'll show you as we go along. One of its annoying limitations is that it doesn't allow uploading FFT. But what's interesting here, which might be of interest to you, is that it already builds the backend for us there with SQLite, with a database, all in a single file. It's a bit inconvenient because everything is in one file, but it already creates a complete application with a prompt. Basically, it's as if we can't send images to it, so we'll have to do it through the prompt. Okay. As I mentioned to you, a good prompt. We use GPT. Let me open my GPT that I use. I use Max. Well, okay, if you want, I'll leave it here in the description. It's on Black Friday sale. What's good about it? It has all the best AIs for you to create your prompts and everything else. You can create your own prompts. Okay, so you can create the React app, make a really nice prompt, create it, then you type here roughly what it is, choose your prompt, and it will give you a prompt to inject into the software you're using. We will use Cloud Sonnet itself or Gemini. Gemini is also good for description. Okay, it has more token limitations, a higher limit. So, what app can we make? We are doing a lot of portfolio work in comparisons and with databases. I don't know if a portfolio would look good. What can we do that involves a database? There's the to-do app, right? I go create an application, a detailed option for a web where I can save my favorite movies in a list. Can I create as many lists as I want? And within the lists, there will be the movie name and the rating, which I can edit and delete. These items from each list. The list will have a name, and I can edit it as well. The theme will be dark. What else can we add? And it can all fetch movie information automatically, whether from a search engine like Google or perhaps even another popular source of information that you might use for finding answers to your questions. API that is free and open for us to use this data. All right. Because ideally we don't want to use GPT and have to tell it to register GPT and everything else. Okay. All right. He added a pay. There's NDB. Let's see. I won't go into detail here because I want to see what he will create. Okay. I'll put use React in Node. There is prompt emission. This prompt was large. All right, it's creating there. He uses Cloud Sonic to make the code. To the root, comes to Sonic to the root. All right, it's creating the first one for us here. Let's see how the code is. You see, he created one with CSS. This is not the best practice for components. React, okay. But here, He took me out. I wanted to see. Since we couldn't include design, so it didn't turn out very well. Let's look at the code. I'm keen to see the code. All right. He used the TimoWeb API. You need a key to use it? I didn't want to. So I put it there and generated the key, but all right. He created a CSS here. It's not a good practice. CSS, along with the component, but all right. He created a backend for us here. See an API here, /list to list, all right. The search for us to look for movies. He also created the backend for us here with Node. Then I returned there. Charge for movie, blah, blah, blah. All right. Then the creation of the front. The requirement of the client. Then he made a database with 𝗥𝗘𝗗𝗘𝗦. So we will be able to persist the data here. He even created here to execute and record in the database, all right? But I found the interface a bit lacking. Let's see if there's anything that's dark. There's nothing. I'll put action movies. All right. And where is it? Didn't saved. Add more details and improve the interface. Use 𝗥𝗘𝗗𝗘𝗦. It will look nicer. Now, apoio can only create lists. But it asks to create lists and create the movies within the lists. Rating option. Check my prompt and correct it. All right, it continued. There. Similarly, playlists will be used to do the search. Fetch the movies. We are already using 𝗥𝗘𝗗𝗘𝗦. We can already see the 𝗥𝗘𝗗𝗘𝗦 classes, so this will be more organized for us to see. I need to reduce the screen a bit here, so my face doesn't cover things. It's just that I don't need this anymore. We won't be using GPT anymore. And when there's an error, it already prompts us here to fix it. See, I'll put it here and it will fix it for us. All right, added 𝗥𝗘𝗗𝗘𝗦. Did a CRUD, right? Which is create, read, update, delete, right? It does everything a database does, right? Which is to create, update, delete. Added the rating feature, which is for us to give ratings to movies. It was a mock of a server-side API. Added doctemp with grid layout. But see, it's recreating the entire file. This is going to be a hassle. It's doing the same thing that Bolt does, and that Bolt has already fixed. I'll even need to take a look, see if Bolt has already released this update. There was another error, but you saw that the interface looked a little nicer there. Are they using Dino or are they using Dino, not using Node? Or are they using Dino's features within Node? Working for now, nothing has appeared. That's where our limit will end, right? But it might be that when you want to create applications, now there's a server side. When you want to create full stack applications, right, with backend, everything including the database, you can start here. I don't know, right? Take the code, copy it, and over at Bolt, paste the code and tell it to create something based on that, right? Because then it already has a start with both backend and front end, could it be? It might be more assertive. There's no table. Move list is doing the service halfway. It's not doing it completely. You see that the good thing about these tools is that as more tools are created, features come out that people end up wanting, and that the mages about Visio take a long time to implement. Then a small player comes along and implements something cool, like already doing the backend. And then it might be that the big players see it and release this feature in a more structured way in theirs, and everything else. Competition, the soul of business, and just see evolution. When we have personal competition, this is very important for those who are creating a product. So let's leave this team that's united and saying that writing a lot makes the town, right? Which then, yes, and he's being a little less effective. And we reach the limit of something faster, and all right, it's just about doing the service, right? So we don't stay, which annoys him, right? Action, movies. Oops, created the action movie here. Then let's simulate what we are doing within the application state. React when we refresh, goodbye. We don't see the action movie there. Let's refresh. Action movie, it's persisting in a small database. All right, let's put the matrix. Search. It's not. This API isn't working because the mocked data is, so it's correct like this, even though it will work. To function, it searches for the movie. Everything came out right. We need to go to the IMDb that it's using, you see, and generate one here to use here. But for educational purposes, I'll use the mock anyway. Okay. Then add to list. It's working. It's adding. Let's inspect. Logs. One. Get. It only did a get. It's not that it did a post. Let's write here. It's when I create a list, then I search for a movie and click to add to the list. It doesn't do anything. Fixing that, we generate 0. What did you think? People from Lovable, from Fragments, I'll leave here in the cards. All these guys that I've already tested. And leave your comments here. What did you think of each one? If you found any cool features in one that we could port to another, at least Bolt, which is open source. Fragments, if I'm not mistaken, is also open source. We can download it to the machine and make upgrades. I'll even take a look how the local Bolt is doing. See if there are many updates to bring you an updated video of the local version. We'll take a look by Zarb to see if there's a lot implemented that people wanted to implement. You see that it's not so slow, right? The thing is, since it's just one file, it doesn't do multiple things at the same time. Like if it was separated, it could do, oh, I'm doing back end or I'm doing front end, which is a bit faster. It kept here our action movies, but it didn't persist when we clicked, right? So let's do a search. It will find a bunch. Oops, here it already created. It's already here. So let's add another movie, Rocky. Very good movie too. It will find the same. Let's put Ative. There, great. So we already have a little guy here for us to start. Just to complete the video, so it's not just this guy here. I liked it. I found it cool. It's valid for what it proposes. Let's copy the code. Let's see what Bolt does for us. I have a system to save movies. Whoa. To save movies. I kill, but it's ugly. Unplanned, or rather unplanned, unstandardized. The code is this: better. Use best practices. There are libs to make it look nice, like Netflix style. Let's explore here and see what it does. I won't even send a drawing. Let's see how it handles this part of the back end and everything else. Or if he's just going to get inspired and create one that saves on the interface. He already separated move card. Search already removes spaces in the query created. The list, see what he's using. vText is a comprehensive platform. The dicks that he always uses anyway. Next times, I don't know. Will it go from cousin? But by the way, he's not persisting in the database, no. Ignore the database. Far from being the father of Netflix, right? But alright, let's go. Action. Crashed. I don't know. Give it a fixed time. Let's just take a look at the code to see if he created anything. Musical back patch list. Okay. It's here. Client. I'm going to ask him about the SQLite before. Hey, I'm used to saving in SQLite. It seems you ignored that. Bring it back. Because I definitely want the software. 100%. It worked. That's it. There's an error. There's an error here in the configuration of the import format. You saw the bolt still, it's what I always say, prompt man. The prompts are the core of these guys here. So we have to define for it when we paste the code what we want it to do based on that. But it should maintain the backend structure, the database structure for it, so it can be, because if we bypass, it will only do exactly what we asked. Create a Netflix style based on that. Okay, it created with internal state registration and not with a database. We always need to specify for the bolt because it keeps loading here. In the preview, it's not here. Our two action movies are eternally here. Let's see if it's deleting. It's not. It should ask to delete and it's not editing. When you click, we could tell it to imitate and detach. Not yet, we say, while Bolt is thinking. When clicking on the movies, I should be able to edit. And when clicking to delete the movie, it should delete. Isn't it true? It's the basics, folks. Help me help you create some little toast there, all right? Look there, he's apologizing because he forgot. To implement SQLite, let me add back the server-side code and fix the missing components. All right, he's going to the back. Let's see if he's going to transform it into next. Doesn't seem to me. So let's go. He created a TS server. But is he going to launch the server separately? Got it. Let's look at the scripts. I'll check it out. The preview, not. Didn't finish the preview. All right. Action. Enter. Didn't create. Error. I need to see the error. Let me pull it up here so you can see too. Go to the console. I'll delete here. Let's create it again. All right, we're back. Probably because it didn't launch the server, right? Unfortunately, the server's backend didn't launch. This is unfortunately causing an error. Therefore, we'll go back to Tony. Even if we fix it, apparently Bolt still gets lost in this back-end part and everything else. It's true that we're being a bit more superficial there in the part of defining and everything else. Well, later I'll even run some tests on prompt creation there for it to create a full stack application. Later I can show you. Tony, I even found it interesting for small things. Sometimes you want a small app to do something. It also makes games from what I saw there. I think it's interesting for you to take a look. I'm just going to finish, see if it will manage to implement the delete for us there. So we can see if its accuracy with small prompts is good or not. But the file becomes spaghetti-like. All right. Opened. Created. Both action movies are already there, so its limit seems to be good. Let's see. Edit. Opened in the little modal. How nice. Let's remove the mock. Mock is great. All right. Updated. And this one we deleted. I could say I want a confirmation modal before deleting and everything else. But here it is, the little app that if it were from scratch would take about an hour and a half to make. We did it here in less than 15 minutes. So it helps us a lot to do these things, more complex things. Of course, they will require more inputs and everything else. But that's it. Guys, it's just another comparative video for you to see the best tools out there in the market to do this part of coding without knowing how to code. And I'll stop here. See you next time. Thanks.